The stock market is at an all-time high. The AI boom looks completely unstoppable, and Nvidia is now worth more than any company in the history of money. But I'm about to show you why a huge chunk of that boom might be a magic trick. Not a lie exactly, a trick. And once you see how it works, you cannot unsee it. Here's the trick in one sentence. A small club of the biggest companies on Earth is quietly passing the same pile of money around in a circle, and every single time it goes around, it looks like brand new demand for AI. It is the same dollars, just wearing a different hat each lap. Wall Street even has a name for this now, circular financing, and in 2026 there's more than $800 billion of it. $800 billion. That is not some niche accounting quirk. That is bigger than the entire economy of most countries, just spinning in a loop. So let me show you the loop, starting with the king of it. Last year, Nvidia stood up and announced something enormous. It said it would invest $100 billion into OpenAI, the ChatGPT company, to help it build giant data centers. Sounds generous, right? The chip giant, backing the AI superstar. Except watch very closely what OpenAI does with that money. OpenAI takes Nvidia's money, and it spends almost all of it buying Nvidia's own chips. So Nvidia hands OpenAI $100 billion, and OpenAI hands most of it right back to Nvidia. The cash does one full lap and lands back where it started. And on Nvidia's books, that shows up as sales. Booming, record-breaking, AI demand. So think about what that actually means. Nvidia is, in a sense, buying its own products. It funds the customer funds Nvidia. The demand looks real, the revenue looks real, but a big slice of it is Nvidia quietly paying itself, and the whole world calls it a boom. That is the magic trick, and it is completely legal. Now, if it were just one weird deal, fine, we could ignore it. But this is the part that should raise the hair on the back of your neck. It is everywhere, and Nvidia's $100 billion is not even the biggest one. Look at the whole club playing this game. Broadcom, $350 billion tied up in these deals. Oracle, $300 billion. Microsoft, $250 billion. Nvidia, $100 billion. AMD, $90 billion. Amazon, CoreWeave, on and on it goes. The same handful of names investing in each other and buying from each other in one gigantic tangled circle. Bloomberg actually had to draw a map of all these deals, and it comes out looking like a plate of spaghetti. Everybody finances everybody. Microsoft funds OpenAI. OpenAI pays Microsoft for cloud. Microsoft buys Nvidia chips. Nvidia funds the next hot startup, and around and around and around it goes. A closed loop, humming along, printing what looks exactly like demand. And here is a detail that makes it worse. A lot of this money is not even real yet. It is borrowed. These tech giants have issued around $159 billion in fresh debt in just 5 months to keep feeding the machine. They're taking on loans to keep the circle spinning. Okay, so here's the one question that pops the whole balloon. If all of these companies are mostly buying from each other, then where are the actual customers? The regular people and the regular businesses out there actually paying for AI with their own real money, because that is the only thing that makes any of this real. So let us go find them. Here is the number that honestly keeps me up at night. After all the hype, all the headlines, all the trillions of dollars, the share of people who actually pay for an AI product is about 3%. 97 out of every 100 people are using the free version, or not using it at all. So really sit in that gap for a second. $800 billion spinning around the circle, getting called explosive, world-changing demand. And then out in the real world, 97% of people will not pay a single nickel for it. That is the widest gap between a story and a reality that I have seen in a very long time. And even the man at the very center of it seems to quietly know. When people started asking the hard questions, Nvidia's own CEO, Jensen Huang, walked it back. He said that famous $100 billion pledge to OpenAI was, quote, never a commitment, never a commitment. The headline that helped move the entire market softened to a maybe. Now you might be thinking, so what? Rich companies doing weird deals with each other, how does any of that touch me? Here's exactly how. Nvidia is not some side character in this. It is the single most valuable company on the entire planet, and it is the biggest single piece of the index funds sitting inside your retirement account right now. When you own a simple index fund, a giant slice of it is these exact names. Nvidia, Microsoft, Amazon, Broadcom, the whole circle. So if the demand is real, you win right along with them. But if a big chunk of it turns out to be the same dollars going in a loop, then the value propping up your retirement is partly an illusion. And illusions do not hold weight forever. And this, by the way, is exactly how bubbles actually work. Not with a lie, with a loop. Money moves fast enough between a small group of players that everyone sees the numbers rising and just assumes it must all be real. Right up until someone in the circle needs actual cash from an actual outside customer and discovers there is not nearly enough of it. And if this is all starting to feel a little familiar, it should, because we have run this exact experiment once before and it ended in a smoking crater. Rewind to around the year 2000. The big telecom equipment makers, giant companies like Lucent and Nortel, started lending their own customers the money to buy their own gear. For a while, it looked absolutely incredible. Sales were booming, the stocks were soaring, everyone felt like a genius. Except the customers were only buying because the seller was quietly funding them. When the real demand never actually showed up, those customers went bankrupt, the loans went bad, and the whole thing collapsed all at once. Nortel went from one of the most valuable companies on earth to completely bankrupt. Now, in fairness, and I always try to give you the other side, there are very smart people who think I've got this completely backwards. They call it a virtuous circle, not a vicious one. And their argument is actually pretty good, so let me give it to you straight. It goes like this. Building AI is brutally expensive, and the best chips are so scarce that you cannot just place an order, you have to lock them in years ahead with cash up front. So these deals, they say, are not a trick at all. They are simply how you guarantee supply for demand that is genuinely exploding. And honestly, if the AI truly pays off, they are completely right, and I am completely wrong. So which one is it? Genius or bubble? And here's my honest answer. The one thing I actually want you to walk away with today. The scariest part is not that this is definitely a bubble. The scariest part is that the loop itself makes it almost impossible to tell. Because when real demand and fake demand both show up as the exact same rising number on the exact same screen, nobody can see the difference anymore. Not you, not me, not even the CEO signing the checks. Everyone is just flying blind at 300 miles an hour with your retirement riding in the back seat, and the checks just keep getting bigger. This year alone, the giants are spending around $700 billion on AI, nearly double what they spent last year. Every quarter, the circle spins a little faster, the numbers climb a little higher, and the moment where AI finally has to prove it can earn real money keeps getting pushed further out. But there is a test coming, and it comes on a schedule. Every 3 months, these companies have to report their earnings, and each time, investors are looking a little harder for one specific thing: real revenue, coming from outside the circle. The day that number disappoints, the loop stops looking like a boom and starts looking like a problem. Very, very fast. So let me be really clear here, because people absolutely love to twist this. I am not anti-AI. The technology is real, and some of it is genuinely incredible. What I am against is the pretending. Pretending that money going in a circle is the same exact thing as the whole world lining up to actually buy something. So the next time you see a headline screaming about record-breaking AI demand, do not just nod along with it. Ask the one question that cuts straight through all of it. Is that money coming from a real outside customer? Or is it just taking one more lap around the circle? Because those two things could not be more different. And if this made you look at that whole AI boom just a little differently, do me a favor and hit subscribe. I read the boring filings and untangled the spaghetti so that you do not have to. And I will see you in the next one.